Hello everyone, welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon. So, do we tell or not tell Rod what was going on? I mean, it's not like the women were actually a threat the way Sir Alcaster most certainly is. But telling him did us well in the last one. Honestly, for some reason, I just don't feel like telling him. Like, it's... Yeah, they were insulting your mom, but I took care of it. It's fine. It is nothing. If you refuse to tell me what happened, I will have to assume that the noble women were telling the truth about you. Lucette has done nothing wrong! In fact, I think Lucette only did what you or Emmeline would have done had you heard the awful things those women were saying about your mother. What? Yeah, because we got Fiorica to back us up this time. Hey! She stood up for the queen when she didn't have to. Then why didn't you just say so? Would you have believed me? Honestly? Like with Sir Alcaster? Come on, Rod, let's be real honest here. Rod drops his gaze from mine. You never gave me a chance to believe you, did you? Yeah, well, let's be real honest here. He would have believed me? How am I to know that? Honestly. Rod is like a walking contradiction. Rod glances up again, this time to look at Viorica. We shouldn't keep you from returning home, Viorica. I'll take Lucette back to the palace. Viorica's eyes narrow, and she looks ready to say something. But Rod has already reached out for my hand to pull me along behind him. When we are out of sight of Viorica's shop, Rod stops, releasing my hand as he turns to face me. Did you really think I would refuse to believe you if you told me the truth? You never liked me. You have no reason to believe me. Rod sighs, running a hand through his hair. Yes, do you feel the weight of your sins crawling on your back? I told you that I would help you break your curse, right? That offer alone should be enough for you to know that I... Aw, Rod turns away, suddenly looking embarrassed. Hey, there it is. This is a long game with all these decisions, a very long game. But I don't dislike you anymore. You are expecting me to just assume that? How would I know unless you made that absolutely clear? Well, I'm making it clear now. I understand. Anyway, thank you for standing up for my mother. It seems like you don't require my assistance in breaking your curse after all. He gestures to my necklace. Congratulations on your second good deed, Lucette. Creepy smile, again with the creepy smile. Suddenly tongue-tied, I find myself looking everywhere but at Rod. Because you don't want to look at his face when he's smiling. It's just weird. It doesn't belong there. When I have once again gathered my senses, I turn to the road. My eyes narrow as I recognize the path we are on. This is not the way back to the palace. No, it isn't. We are going to the Marchen. Why? Because I was on my way there before I was forced to take a detour because someone was drawing attention to herself. What? But Rod ignores me, and we walk the rest of the way to the Marchen in silence. Pardon me. Waltz is the only person in the reception room when we enter. Prince Rod? Princess? It's a little late for the two of you to be here. I had meant to be here earlier. Is Lady Parfait here? Waltz nods. I'll go get her. Wait here. As soon as Waltz leaves us alone, Rod turns to me, his expression rigid. Rod steps closer and grabs my shoulders. Why? 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 I wasn't able to say so earlier because we were out in public, but... You should know just how much danger you're in now, and yet you thought it was okay to go around on your own? It was my day off today! It is not unreasonable for me to want time to myself. Time to yourself? Don't you understand the meaning of be careful? Why would you do something as foolish as going out into town alone? I cannot help but bristle at his tone. Why are you so angry? Because you're... Rod trails off and looks away. Because you're family. Oh, so you're finally acknowledging me as family. Huh? Good timing music. Got it. Up top. I notice his cheeks turning red. To be honest, you're less of a family member and more just important. Important? What? Because of all that you do for Emmeline. That hasty excuse. You're important to my sister, not to me, obviously. Ignore the blushing and the heart racing. He looks uncomfortable as he says the words, but I cannot help but marvel at his embarrassment. Why is he so embarrassed? Because he's starting to like you, like you. But Rod changes the topic as he turns away from me. Why were you with Viorica? I can only think of one reason you'd speak with her. My curse. You thought you'd find out about my curse through her? I shrug. Seems like a good lead. I can only assume that your curse has something to do with Viorica. I look up when Rod says something, then stare at the curious sight before me. He has taken Sebi off his shoulder and is holding the doll in his hands away from his face. The two seem to be engaged in some silent conversation. Then, gently, Sebi speaks words I can hear. This is the right thing to do. You need to let her help you, Rod. Rod bites down on his lower lip before briefly closing his eyes. Eventually, he returns to Sebi to his usual spot on his shoulders and turns to me. Fine. You're stubborn, and you're not going to quit investigating unless I tell you, are you? You're right. Viorica is the reason I was cursed. Rod sits down on the settee and lets out a heavy sigh. His eyes are far away when he speaks to me. I was in love with Viorica, but I wasn't brave enough to just tell her. I just followed her around like some kind of puppy. One day, Viorica hadn't come home, and it was raining very heavily, so I went out to look for her. I found her walking along the bank of the river. I called out to her to tell her to be careful, but I don't think she ever heard me. She slipped and... Rod swallows. He clenches one of his hands into a fist. She fell into the river. I dived in after her. I somehow managed to get both of us onto the riverbank, but it didn't look like Viorica was breathing. I didn't know what to do. I started panicking. I ran off to try and find help, but I couldn't find anyone in the storm. When I returned, she was gone. I rushed to her house and a doctor was already there tending to her along with... Desmond. Rod's gaze is vacant as he nods. When Viorica began to fall in love with Desmond, I felt helpless. You did not tell her that you were the one who saved her? Why would I? Viorica was so happy believing that she and Desmond were fated to be together. I couldn't do that to her. But surely if you told her... Rod interrupts me. I want the people I love to be happy. I don't care if their happiness causes me pain. I'd rather bear that alone instead of bringing down those around me. My chest aches as I watch Rod's face. I never would have guessed that Rod would be so... selfless. But that didn't stop me from thinking that I could still make her love me instead. I decided to become what I thought Viorica wanted most. The Prince Charming of the fairy tales she so adored. And so I asked a witch to turn me into one. She stole my voice in exchange. Only then did I realize that she had inflicted the Fairytale Curse upon me. The Mermaid's Curse. The next day, the king turned up at our house proclaiming that he'd been looking for my mother for years and that he'd never stopped loving her. When the king married my mother, I became a prince. It was just as the witch had promised. But it didn't matter. I didn't see it when I made the deal with the witch, but I couldn't be blind to it forever. Desmond and Viorica really do love each other. They make each other happy. Nothing I can do will ever change that. Rod, So does that mean the love between the king and Ophelia is a lie? The world will never know. Prince Rod? Oh. Parfait pauses in her tracks when she sees me. Have I interrupted something? No. Rod moves over to Parfait, but he stops to glance back at me. I won't be long. Parfait looks at Rod, then at me, her face puzzled, but she does not say a word as Rod and her leave the room. Poor dude. He just keeps on getting the short end of that stick, doesn't he? I did not get the chance to discuss Rod's curse with him later that night, nor did I get the chance to speak with Parfait and Delora about my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. Days go by, but I still find myself overwhelmed by preparations for the ball. Things become more frantic every day, making it difficult for me to have any time to speak with anyone. Eventually, I decide to write a letter containing my suspicions of Sir Alcaster. I tell Parfait and Delora that I believe he might be the witch they are looking for. I also add that I believe Fritz might somehow be involved, though my suspicions are not as well founded with him. To make matters worse, he went and disappeared. I have not heard anyone mention his name here for a very long time. Oh! I am forcefully pulled from my thoughts when I collide with someone. Fritz, please! The linens I had been holding scatter over the floor. Excuse me, I did not... I look up and my voice trails off when I see who I bumped into. Mithros. This asshole. Lost in your thoughts? Sir Mithros looks at me, something veiled in his smiling eyes. I suppose those are the linens the Queen asked for, blah? Yes, excuse me. I begin gathering up the linens, but as I reach out for one, Sir Mithros picks it up first. Allow me to help you. I will be fine. But this was partially my fault. Let me assist you. I bite my lip and do not protest, as Sir Mithros helps me to gather the rest of the linens. I am contemplating my schedule for the rest of the day when I realize that Sir Mithros has been talking. He's still here? I don't suppose you have any idea on who that maid is? Maid? What? There's cold amusement in Sir Mithros' gaze. Surely you've heard the rumor of the young prince having been seen with a royal maid somewhere around town. Rumor has it that Prince Rod has found love among the common folk, much like his royal stepfather has. Rod with a maid? Who could that be? As far as I'm aware, the only maid he's been out with in town has been... me. I freeze as Sir Mithros straightens, patting down his clothes for dust before holding out some of the linens to me. If it is true, I wish him the best, though I wish he would be more discreet about it. A royal scandal is the last thing we need right now. I shakily take the linens from Sir Mithros as he inclines his head toward me. Have a good day, Lucette. Okay. I walk to the dining hall in a haze, my mind whirling with the implications of what Sir Mithros just said. I am sure it was those noblewomen who spread this rumor. Ah, Lucette, thank you for bringing these to me. Just leave them on the table. I curtsy after placing the linens down as commanded. If that is all. Lucette? I straighten at the tone of Ophelia's voice. When I look up at her, I see that her expression is carefully still. I am about to ask you something you might not want to answer, but I very much hope you will. I will answer if I can. Good. Ophelia sighs as she sits down on one of the dining table chairs and folds her hands in her lap. I've been trying to ignore it since palace gossip is mostly false, but I can't help my curiosity. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with my son. What? I understand you and Rod were out together in town a few days ago. Do you want to tell me what happened? just clear things up here a little bit. If Ophelia is asking me about these rumors, then I can only imagine what sort of story those women made up. Prince Rod was just on his way somewhere when he chanced upon me. When he saw that I was in trouble with 2 noblewomen, he stopped to intervene, that is all. Rod said the same thing. Then why did you ask me, Your Majesty? To see what you thought about the situation. I don't think anyone should get a say in what your relationship with Rod is. My relationship with Rod? Are you trying to hook me up with your son? Why? I like you, Lucette, and I'm certain that you're good for Rod. Oh, we got in with the mum. If I had my way, I would let him court you. What? Oh, the blush on her cheeks are adorable. I feel heat in my cheeks as I trip over my words. The prince and I are not in a relationship. A member of the royal family cannot end up with a servant. Where there's love, there's hope. Social status shouldn't stop you from being happy, Lucette. Then what about the fact that I'm Rod's stepsister? Is that a problem? I bite down on that statement fiercely. I already know what role I am playing here, and I cannot break it. Ophelia looks at me with a complicated expression before she sighs. I will not push you on this any further. But be careful, Lucette. Your closeness with my son and daughter has not gone unnoticed. I do not believe in limiting relationships because of one's status, but... I understand. I curtsy as I move towards the dining hall's entrance. What did Ophelia mean by that closeness has not gone unnoticed? I can consonate and enunciate words. Anyways, so, as we ponder on those parting words, I will catch you all in the next episode. So, thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye!